Hello everyone and welcome. This is Kirya Does Things. I'm Kirya, and today we're going to talk about the F1 fantasy game as always, and talk about the Imola Grand Prix, a review of that, and a preview of the Monaco Grand Prix that is going to happen today and tomorrow. Today is Saturday, and qualifying is going to be, I think, at 5 p.m. So, first of all, Imola, I ended up going with the basic team that I already had, no changes. I didn't feel like changing Verstappen was a good idea, which was pretty close to the truth, what happened in the end, because he didn't get the most points out of everybody, but it was pretty close between him and Lando. Lando got in the end 37 points, Verstappen got 35. Lando keeps getting the Driver of the Day award, and Verstappen is never gonna get that, pretty much, because of his dominance. So that's something that we have to consider. But other than that, Verstappen scored nearly the most points, 35, which was good enough for us. Obviously, with the 2 times getting 70 points. And then Magnussen, as always, delivered some good points because of his, as always, bad qualifying and good races. Even though this time around it was one of these times that Magnussen gets blocked in qualifying, which has happened a lot this season, which obviously helps us with the F1 fantasy points. And then Zhou got 5 points just because he existed pretty much. Some race positions gained and some overtakes. And then we had -2 for Bottas, -2 for Sargent. Bottas just lost 2 positions and that was it. Got 0 overtakes during the race. And then Sargent got a -5 for the qualifying because he didn't even classify. He didn't manage to complete a single timed lap so that he could obviously as always be last, but at least not get this -5. So that was not great, but still it's good enough. And then Red Bull and Ferrari scored some okay points, not the usual pretty like they usually are the teams that score the most points by far, but now McLaren is strong. And Perez didn't do well for Red Bull, and the Ferraris were just meh, where they were fine. I think McLaren scored the most out of everybody, but it was close with Red Bull. I think McLaren had 60 something, 64, 65 points. So again, I could have changed Red Bull for McLaren maybe, but still the risk seemed quite high for no good reason. So that was that from Imola. We still gained some positions. I was around 2000 to 1900 in the world before Imola. Now I am 1348, so we are keep climbing, we are keep rising. And 6th in Greece, I was 9th before the previous race, which is pretty good. We're doing well. We're still doing well. And now for Monaco. Monaco is quite tricky because it's such a unique track. And as we saw from practice, Red Bull once again is not that... it's not at all clear of the field. Verstappen is obviously gonna challenge for the win. You might say he's the favorite, even though they struggled so much during practice. However, it seems like it will be a big fight in quali, and obviously Monaco is mainly qualifying. And then if the race is normal, which a lot of the times it is, it means that you pretty much have the same order from the qualifying. Last season, even though there was rain and chaos happened, they still ended up finishing 1, 2, 3 with the same guys and in the same positions that they qualified in. Verstappen first, Alonso second, and Ocon third. So obviously qualifying is everything, but the guy who seemed extremely confident in the one lap pace was Charles Leclerc, the home hero. So I am actually considering going for Leclerc more so than I considered it in Imola, changing Verstappen, I mean, because I was thinking about maybe going for Norris or Leclerc for Imola, but I ended up staying with Verstappen. However, the idea behind this is not only because of Leclerc seeming strong and Red Bulls and Verstappen not so confident. That's one part of this thinking. The other part is that we can use the final fix chip, which is that you can make one change after quali. You keep the points from quali from the driver that you had, and then you get the points from the race from the driver that you switch to. And the idea behind going for Leclerc is that one, he seems strong. Two, if he performs well, he will probably get driver of the day, I think, just because he is the home hero, and especially if he wins, it's pretty much guaranteed that he will get the driver of the day, which is plus 10 points. And then, other than that, we will have 8 million budget. Maybe 8 million, maybe less if I make some other change. But the point is that if I have some decent budget aside, if something goes terribly wrong for someone, I can then use the quick fix to change that. So if I go for Leclerc and then Leclerc does terribly, I can use the quick fix to go back to Verstappen, for example. Or maybe someone else, maybe Norris gets a pole, so I can go to Norris with a quick fix. However, if I keep Verstappen, I can still do these changes because Verstappen is the most valued asset. So that's not really like the big benefit from this. The big benefit from this is probably changing someone else. And if I stay like this, okay, if Verstappen does badly, I can change him. But if anyone else does badly, I wouldn't be able to change him. However, if I go for Leclerc, if Leclerc does badly, I could change him. And if anyone else does terribly and I can take someone else in their position, I could then do the switch for everybody else as well. Every other driver out of those four, possibly, or even maybe a team. Maybe we can go for Leclerc instead of Verstappen, and then McLaren instead of Red Bull, and then we can have an option to change someone, to change McLaren, for example. I don't know, it's a little bit complicated. I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach this. The quick fix is a good idea to have in the back of my mind anyway for this specific race weekend, exactly because if someone messes up in qualifying, you can use it to a full effect, because they will not be able to overtake, they will not be able to recover places and get points this way. In a regular weekend, it would have been possible, and maybe if a Perez or somebody qualified badly at the start of the season in a regular race, it would have even been a good idea to actually go for him. Let's say Perez was like 15th in Bahrain, okay? It would have probably been a good idea to go for Perez, so because he would have gotten so many points by getting overtakes and positions gained, if you get my point. But right now, in Monaco especially, it's the opposite. So whoever qualifies well might be a good idea to take him on board. So let's see. Let's say I go for Leclerc, which is something that I'm really considering. Let's say I do that. I take the risk. And I'm hoping for the best because, Leclerc has a curse, quote unquote, in Monaco. Hasn't even been in the podium, I think, in Monaco. Some things were his fault, some were Ferrari's fault. But anyway, let's say that I take this gamble and go for Leclerc instead of Verstappen. Now, right now, I have one more change to do, and we could go for something like Alonso instead of Magnussen, for example. Which is fine, and then, however, like if I do this, that means that if Leclerc does terribly and Verstappen is on pole, I can't go back to Verstappen. If I don't do this and keep, let's say I keep Magnussen, or I go for not Magnussen, somebody that is close to him in value. Let's say, I don't know, Yuki, for example. Okay, let's say I go for this one. Now, if Leclerc does badly, I can go back to Verstappen. It's enough. So, if we disregard the quick fix, the logical thing to do, if quick fix didn't exist, I would have gone for probably something like this. However, because it exists and it gives us that flexibility, I don't really want to do that, even though this is probably the optimum team, in theory. Exactly because if something goes terribly wrong with one of my big guys, Leclerc or Alonso, mainly Leclerc, who would have the 2 times score, I would have been able to change him. So pretty much what I'm saying is, if I go like this is probably the optimum team, I think, to score as many points as I can, but it's extremely risky. If something happens to Leclerc, it's pretty much season over for us. We can't compete anymore for the top spots. It's that it would have been that bad in this scenario. If I don't do this and keep someone like Yuki or Magnussen, probably Yuki, who is a better qualifier, let's say this gives us the option to switch Leclerc for Verstappen or Tsunoda for Alonso, depending on qualifying. You see where I'm going with this? That's the point. That's the whole point of this. So quick fix gives us the flexibility if we go for something like this. If we don't, it's not useful. It's just not useful because, let's say again, I go for this. If Leclerc does badly, the best thing I could do from here is go for Perez. I'm not trusting Perez doing well here. He didn't seem comfortable in practice, and in general, he seems to have lost some confidence again in the car, and obviously in Monaco confidence is everything. So I in this scenario that I go for probably the best team that I could, in theory, in my mind. If something bad happens to Leclerc, we are screwed. I can go for I can go for Perez, I can go for Sainz, I can go for Piastri. I can't go for the big guys. I am thinking that probably these guys will challenge again, Verstappen, Norris and Leclerc for pole. Sainz didn't seem comfortable as well in practice. Piastri, okay, still not trusting him with big things like this. Big risk to go for Piastri. And obviously the Mercedes as well. So, I don't know. I'm thinking like this. Probably Alonso will be slightly ahead of Tsunoda, but it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make in order to have the flexibility. That's what I'm thinking. And then, as far as constructors go, again, maybe Red Bull doesn't fill me with confidence right now. What else can I really realistically do? And again, let's say, or Ferrari, but Ferrari seemed good. That's the problem. That's the issue. If I say, okay, let's get rid of Ferrari, here obviously I can't do 3 changes, so let's get back. I will have to keep Magnussen in this scenario, and then go to constructors and go for McLaren and Red Bull, for example. Again, right now, maybe right now this is like the middle ground, because if something bad happens to Leclerc, I can go for Norris in this configuration, but not for Verstappen. And also I can switch then Magnussen with a quick fix. I mean, I can switch Kevin Magnussen for Stroll, but not Alonso. So this seems just not good, because McLaren seems like they are in the mix, but they don't seem like the favorites. And this scenario opens up the possibility of me going for McLaren and Norris instead of Ferrari, which seems wrong. I don't know. It seems wrong. I don't know. It's confusing. There are a lot of different options to go for. You might just go for the best team and hope. You might just stay with Verstappen and hope. The other thing that we could consider is, let's go back to the base team that we have. This is the base team. The other thing that I can do is make some changes only for the small drivers and keep the rest. So that would look something like, I have 0.3 million, that's why I'm saying it, because I can, let's say, go Hülkenberg for Magnussen, because exactly it's Monaco and qualifying is everything, and Hülkenberg is probably going to out-qualify Magnussen, of course. So it's an opportunity for Hülkenberg to actually get some decent points and some value, because usually Magnussen gets the F1 Fantasy points due to his bad quali. And then I can make one more change for the small drivers. I have 1.4, so maybe you can let's say, get rid of Joe. And to be fair, qualifying in Monaco, qualifying 13th or qualifying 17th is not really different. So I don't know which Sauber I would just take out to go for Albon, for example, or pretty much that. I can't really do anything else. Or just go for Yuki, and that's it. So I can make some small changes that seem like improvements, and it feels like they are improvements, but you can do so much more in this situation. And the fact that you can do so much more, and so much more seems like could work or could not work, makes this choice quite difficult and interesting. So right now I really don't know. Honestly, I'm really confused. I will watch FP3 and see what happens there, and then probably maybe someone crashes and they have to fix the car and stuff, and so that's an alarm bell to not have them in my team. But other than that, I will decide last minute, because there are so many options. I would have to think about it a lot. So that's pretty much the thinking around the quick fix Monaco GP fantasy situation. Yeah, so let's see how it goes. I hope I at least pick a strategy that is not terrible, so we are still in the fight. And let's see, let's enjoy Monaco for what it is, a qualifying mainly event, a qualifying Grand Prix. And the race is not going to be that fun probably, but still you will have the narrative if Leclerc gets pole, if Verstappen gets pole in the end today, and then tomorrow, like, no rain, today or tomorrow no rain, and Verstappen just gets P1 in both sessions, it will probably be boring again. But hoping for something different. So that's it from me. Hope you liked the video. Hope you are doing well in F1 Fantasy. and we are going to talk about F1 Fantasy again in the next before the next race, which is going to be Canada in 2 weeks. So that's it. Like and subscribe, and we will talk again soon. Bye.